Hi everyone, welcome back to the third episode in the visual podcast series with me, Selby, and Celsi. In the first episode, we had a two-part discussion about what it means to be a human being. In episode 2, we talked about the imposter syndrome. Now, as you probably saw in the title of the video, we're going to be talking about ignorance in the context of the whole coronavirus outbreak. You totally have to be living under a rock to not know about this novel strain, the 2019 NCOV, because it has literally been all over the news. I want to talk about ignorance in the context of the public health crisis because of the misconceptions regarding everything about the virus and prevention, as well as stereotypes and bias, and maybe some racism. I'm going to start off with a personal story that kind of highlights why ignorance is so dangerous, offensive, and seemingly incurable. In Cantonese, there's a saying, 人蠢冇藥醫. There just isn't a cure for ignorant people. Okay, so this is a story about my human who just so happens to be a student at a school of public health. So after class one day, she was chatting with her friend who just happened to also be Chinese. They were talking about surgical masks and how there's a shortage in Asia and how people in Flushing are just wearing them and stuff. Then this guy, who is not Chinese nor Asian, but that's not the point, he comes over after eavesdropping, rude, and says, I hope I don't offend anyone, but is there a reason as to why people of your culture are so protective of yourselves? Oh my god! Are you kidding me? That was literally how my human reacted to. Well, she first rolled her eyes and internally asked why this dude was still talking after making the little disclaimer about not wanting to offend anyone. But my human was speechless. Her friend recovered faster and quickly, concisely, and accurately stated SARS 2003. This gets worse, don't worry. This dude then goes on to say, oh, so the imagery from back then is what is making everyone wear masks? I see. Oh my god, you do not see! Imagery? Like what? So at that point, my human recovered and toned down, furiously countered. It's not imagery, it's people dying. The SARS epidemic was not imagery. That shut him up. So this story should highlight a few things. 1, ignorance, of course. 2, stereotyping, bias, and even some racism. And 3, misconceptions about public health. All committed, for a lack of better words, by someone who is a public health student. Because, don't forget, this dude is my human's classmate. Ignorance is dangerous and deadly. It's also not something someone should be proud of. Before asking a question or making a comment, please do some due diligence. Research on your own before trying to opine. Ignorance is ultimately a lack of knowledge and information. With that, I want to present some quick facts about coronaviruses, this particular outbreak, and public health. The information is a result of something very easy, a quick search on a health agency website like the WHO, CDC in the US, and CDC in China. Johns Hopkins also has created a real-time map tracking outbreaks all over the world. Now, the current outbreak of the novel coronavirus, or strain 2019 NCOV, was first reported from Wuhan, China, on 31st of December in 2019. The 2019 novel coronavirus is a coronavirus named as such as a nod to the crown-like shape. Coronaviruses are large family viruses that cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as MERS and SARS. SARS was recognized at the end of February 2003. That epidemic from back then was extremely devastating, and memories of those times still haunt the world to this day, contributing to a panic people are experiencing right now as a response to the current novel coronavirus outbreak. Coronaviruses are zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted between animals and people. Detailed investigations found that SARS-CoV was, transmitted from civet cats to humans, and in the case of MERS, from dromedary camels to humans. These animals are termed reservoirs. Early on, many of the patients in the outbreak in Wuhan, China, reportedly had some link to a large seafood and animal market, suggesting some sort of animal-to-person spread. However, a growing number of patients reportedly have not had exposure to animal markets, indicating that person-to-person spread is occurring. Common signs of infection include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, aka SARS, kidney failure, and even death. This is all pretty scary, but don't forget, the quote-unquote common flu can also be deadly, so make sure to get your flu shot. So why is there so much panic? Namely, this virus seems to be able to transmit from human to human, and if it is indeed transmissible through the air, then there is indeed a problem, because people do not know how to cover their mouths. Yet another form of ignorance. In Asia, there have been shortages of surgical masks and disinfectants in stores because consumers are extremely fearful of a repeat of what happened back in 2003, SARS. Between November 2002 and July 2003, an outbreak of SARS in southern China caused eventual 8,098 cases, resulting in 774 deaths reported in 17 countries. China and Hong Kong were especially hard hit. In particular for Hong Kong, SARS remains a nightmare to this day. People were disinfecting elevators every hour in this super densely populated city, which goes to show how bad the situation was. SARS 2003 cannot simply be dismissed as imagery, which was an unforgivable thing that the ignorant public health student said to my human. Wearing a surgical mask, whether it is effective or ineffective against this particular novel strain of the coronavirus, is not something selfish that selfish Chinese people do? Is there a reason as to why people of your culture are so protective of yourselves? Well, my people are your people. We are all humans. We respect each other and don't want a human apocalypse. Wearing a f***ing mask is protecting ourselves and other people. Aside from the coronavirus, the flu, common colds, and other threats that are looming in the air, a human should not have uttered those words, let alone a public health student. I didn't want to make this thing about race, because I personally don't believe that race is a thing. It's a social construct that weak-minded, cowardly people created to exert dominance over others, abuse them, and inhumanly strip them of rights and dignity and set forth a pretense of committing violence. 2019 happens to mark the 400th anniversary of when the first slaves arrived in colonial America. Racism and slavery are very much so part of the American identity and history, and bigots need to accept that and acknowledge the disgusting things that happened and apologize. Ignoring it is not an option. The comment of the ignorant public health student embedded in his question was racially toned and implied that Chinese people are all selfish and only care about themselves. Your culture. What do you even mean by that? Just because you probably don't care about spreading your germs or breathing in other people's germs doesn't entitle you to put all Chinese people into this bucket of being selfish. A highly insensitive, ignorant, and inherently distasteful question. His words communicated his bias and desire to present a stereotype, and that's not okay. Objectively speaking, I agree that some Chinese people can be selfish, but that's only because some people are selfish and Chinese people are people too. The fact that he decided to throw all the people of a culture into a bucket communicates his lack of cultural competency. Ignorant! And it also suggests that Columbia University is wasting its resources on him because he thinks that wearing a mask during a global health crisis of sorts is only meant to protect the wearer. While there is much ongoing debate on the efficacy of wearing a surgical mask, people need to understand that it's not the masks that are not effective. It's that they need to be worn correctly. Although some disgusting people may be taking advantage of the situation, outputting defective ones to make money, or just raising the price, properly made surgical masks contain a filter to capture particles like pathogens. If you do wish to wear a mask, whether it is for protection during the current outbreak or the flu and other diseases, make sure to wear it correctly and educate others as well. One component of public health is to inform, educate, and empower. Spread awareness and humanity. Celebrities have been taking to social media to do just that. This is a screenshot from Hong Kong actress Natalie Tong Siwing's Instagram, where she uses her recent popular character from the hit TVB drama Big White Duel to educate her followers on how to wear a mask and other precautionary measures. In Hong Kong, there is a shortage of disinfectants, so people have been concocting their own and sharing recipes. Priscilla Wong, or Wong Cherry, another TV actress, has also shared her recipe on Instagram. However, even ingredients for such DIY disinfectants have been sold out all over Hong Kong. As Professor Alistair Moody from Harry Potter says, constant vigilance. Please don't be ignorant and possibly even worse, racist and perpetuate unfounded biases and stereotypes. Even if you're not a public health student, you as a human have a duty to stay informed, protect yourselves and others, and be a human being. I hope this video was helpful, whether it was educational or a much needed mini discussion on racism and stereotypes. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast series, and we will see you next time. Bye!